It was a bombshell announcement when Trump announced that he was positive with COVID-19. And it was shocking to everyone when it really shouldn't have been. I mean, he's been downplaying, he's been messing with this virus for months and months now. And so it shouldn't have been shocking when he was actually sick. But one of the things that, people were kind of wondering, because, he was sick and now he was positive, and so you assumed he was going to, quarantine at the White House for a little bit. Then all of a sudden, okay, he's going to the hospital. And you think, okay, maybe it's just a precautionary measure. And then you hear he needs oxygen, he's not doing so good. And so that made me wonder about this big question here is, how long has he actually been sick? This kind of highlights one of the biggest problems with COVID-19 is that you really don't know until you're sick until it's kind of too late, right? So essentially with the incubation period here, right? Let me pull up this article here that should better explain this. Hold on one sec. And it definitely kind of points out just how long and how many days the incubation period is. All right, so this comes to us. A little laggy here. This comes to us from CBC, and it's an article to try to figure out what's the progression of COVID-19? What's the average progression of COVID-19? As you see, there's an incubation period here. And the incubation period varies quite a bit. I mean, it could be 2 weeks. It could be 5 days. It could be 2 days. It's kind of up in the air there. But I think the average consensus is that it could be up to around 5 days. Right? And so then after you are, once the incubation is passed and you officially do have COVID-19, then you're going to start to see symptoms after that. And those symptoms are going to progress over 5 days. And within those 5 days, they'll either get better or they will get worse. And so theoretically, Trump could have been infected around 10 days ago. Theoretically. I mean, I am not a doctor, and they've been very, very guarded on this subject, and they're refusing to announce, okay, when did Trump first test positive? And so that the fact that they are not being forthcoming with that information shows you maybe there's something to hide. But what we do know is that Trump was hospitalized on Friday, right? In the last 10 days before that, he went to a private fundraiser on Wednesday, because you got to make money, running for president, got to make that money. He did the debate on Tuesday, of course, being with Joe Biden, and everyone else who was there, who was some of the top members of our government, top members of the campaign, Biden's campaign. And for the record, it seems like a lot of folks on the Republican side that are tested positive, not as much on the Democratic side testing positive, but there's a lot of positives that are coming out of the actual debate there, people who were actually at the debate. Also, on Monday, he met with a Gold Star Mothers group, which is very nice of him to do, but he also met with generals and military leadership. And a lot of those generals and military leadership, including, I believe, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, the leader of the Coast Guard, a few members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, are all now quarantined, some of them testing positive. And so no matter how you feel about this, now COVID-19 is a national security risk. We are having, some of the top members of our military have testing positive or quarantined. We have now entered the stage where this is threatening the security of the United States. And on Saturday, Trump did this.
I stand before you today to fulfill one of my highest and most important duties under the United States Constitution, the nomination of a Supreme Court Justice.
As you can see, there is a lot of people there. And I've seen some graphics where you could literally point to the people. You say, look, okay, that person's positive, that person's positive, that person's positive. I mean, you've had senators coming out of there testing positive. You've had, Melania obviously testing positive. You have all kinds of staffers testing positive out of there. And you could just kind of see, look who they're all sitting next to, right? There's a lot of people who are positive that were at that event. And you can kind of see why. I mean, you look back at that video, and I don't think I saw a mask at all. And I've seen a lot of people call out Amy Coney Barrett, who had the virus months ago, having all her kids they're sitting next in this big rally environment without a mask on. It might seem like a little bit of a below the belt attack, but it just kind of shows that there wasn't a whole lot of virus prevention kind of stuff at that event, and it's kind of biting them in the ass right now. And so if we go back to our timeline, go back to our COVID timeline. If Trump needed oxygen on Friday, then on Saturday he likely noticed symptoms, either Saturday or Monday. And then over the next 5 days, he didn't say anything about it. And that's not me saying anything. I mean, this is the science here, right? This is the progression of COVID-19 from what the average person is going through, right? So this is just science. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with the science there. And so what we can't see is that a lot of times science follows a pattern. And Trump's typical pattern with the virus is there's rules for everyone else, but not for me. Not for me. And that has been central to how we've been fighting COVID-19. Do you remember back when the lockdowns happened? Do you remember back when there were people who were doing these reopen protests throughout the country? And the Trump administration put out all these fun guidelines. The Trump administration put all these guidelines saying, here's what you need to reopen, here's what you need to be safe, here's what you need to do, here's all the right things that you need to do. And then they went and ignored all of it after Trump tweeted, retaliate. He tweeted, reopen. He tweeted, hey, forget all these rules. You need to rise up against these Democratic-run, governors or Democratic-run mayors. Because, look, this has all been political to him. All been political to him. Doesn't matter. Rules for you, not rules for me. He says, hey, we all need to wear masks. I'm probably not going to wear one. You should wear one. Hey, this is just how he operates. This is just how he is. And you can just see him walking home in the White House after spending 3 days in the hospital without a mask on. I mean, you got to have your head really far up your ass to do that, right? Like, look, I get if he's feeling better. I get the White House is his home. And I get that it's, he's putting a lot of people at risk by being there, but I get it. He lives at the White House. But come on. If you had the coronavirus and you went to the hospital and you went home and there were people you actually cared about in your home, would you walk inside without a mask? I mean, that's not a gotcha question. That's not something that's like, oh, this is something that should be, this shouldn't be political here, right? If you are sick with a contagious virus and you're just getting out of the hospital where you needed oxygen, so you're real sick, probably very contagious, would you walk inside your house with people that you say that you love without a mask on? You don't have to be a genius to figure out that that's a really stupid idea.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, click that little subscribe button, maybe the like button, and hey, maybe just leave a comment. I want to know what you're thinking. What do you think about all the politics, the news, and all the stuff that's going on in our country?